Transitional housing in Detroit, Michigan. There is a variety of transitional housing in Detroit, Michigan. You can find listing transitional and sober living in transitionalhousing.org. Some of the transitional houses listed offer the following: 3/4 houses which assist residents to transit back to normal life. Sober living homes for residents who suffer from substance abuse. Halfway houses which have diverse kind of houses for residents who suffer from substance abuse, emotional or mental illness, and physical issues to help them transit back to the community. Reentry programs are residential for community offenders that provide a safe, organized, and controlled atmosphere. Most of it runs by the government, privately owned, and/or non-profitable organizations. DRMM, Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries, located at 150 Stimson Street, Detroit, Michigan, provides hope to the hopeless, abused, and deprived persons of the community. DRRM Transitional Housing allows residents to stay up to 2 years while they are transiting from being homeless until they get stabilized from education and training to employment wherein they meet their needs independently. Extensive support is being offered, which includes case management, education, mental health, employment, and substance abuse aftercare services to aid residents towards a successful recovery. They provide up to 6 months of follow-up after the resident leave to ensure they become independent and stable. Transitional housing meaning. Transitional housing means to transit from homelessness to having a permanent accommodation that provides a structured, organized, supportive atmosphere and teaches life skills, education, and training. It is developed to mediate between emergency shelters and permanent housing, as it is long-term, wherein it provides a safe but well-managed atmosphere and has a supportive group as residents rebuild themselves and grow their network. A new concept of transitional housing is incorporated, with scattered site housing is provided and considered portable for residents to let them have private spaces while support group is accessible. Affordable housing such as transitional housing mostly deals with the youth in the community, wherein it prevents the youth to experience homelessness as they are trained with the concept of live, learns, and grow. Social housing like transitional housing is being presented by community housing providers, which deal with tenancy to people who have crucial needs that allow them to stay until they get stabilized before moving or transferring out to the community. Federal Halfway House, Detroit, Michigan. Halfway house intended for inmates with minimum security implemented is called Federal Halfway House. Federal Halfway House is also known as Residential Reentry Center, made possible by the Federal Bureau of Prisons, BOP, which intended to help inmates to transit before releasing back to the community to be prepared and well equipped. It permits inmates to look for a job, be trained, find permanent housing, and rebuild family ties. BOP will elect the halfway house for the inmates' imprisonment which they determine that have met the requirements of health and habitability set by the said Bureau. The Bureau ensures the remaining terms of the inmate to adjust and prepare to go back to the community. Inmates can stay not more than 12 months for their remaining terms. Federal Halfway House is considered as a correctional facility, and inmates are legally eligible to be placed. Inmates are allowed to request for transfer of the Residential Reentry Center. There is only 25 residential reentry management halfway house in the United States, that United States Marshal Services, federal courts, local corrections, and state corrections. Federal Bureau of Prison, BOP, managed and operates Detroit Residential Reentry Management. To locate a person, you may visit the website or contact Detroit Residential Reentry Management. Inmates may receive items from their family and friends, which is important to roll as they know they have someone that supports them. Items and packages must have consent from the staff of Detroit Residential Reentry Management. Only unconfined clothes and medical equipment are allowed to have by the inmates without the consent of the authorized staff. Visitors may visit their loved ones during visitation hours, but must submit visitor applications before the visitation schedule. Only books, newspapers, and magazines directly from the publisher are allowed received by the inmates. Other than that will automatically be rejected by the management. Housing assignment for inmates is given through admission. They will have communal bathrooms and commons areas, and will be required to do community work. Unhealthy inmates are required to join educational classes, drug education, and release preparation classes as they become productive members of the community. Women's Shelter, Detroit. There is a nationwide directory of shelters for women found in womenshelter.org, such as Women in Family Shelter, Transitional Housing, Residential Treatment, and other related services that provide services for alcohol and drug rehabilitation with supportive housing selections. The place where most women seek to escape for protection and support from domestic violence and sexual assault is called women's shelters. It has a diverse range of services such as counseling and legal guidance to aid women and their children. Find local emergency services, homeless shelters, and social services in Detroit, Michigan on the website Grace's List Detroit. Women's shelter like Mary's Place offers safety to these women and their children who are victims of sexual exploitation and domestic abuse while ensuring the access to legal assistance, support groups, classes, basic living skills, and other essential services. They can also avail financial support, health insurance, employment, education, and child care services at the said shelter. They can stay for a night or weeks depending on their needs. Homeless shelters in Wayne County. Low-income housing units and homeless shelters can be awarded to individuals who are evicted or homeless in Wayne County, Michigan, wherein they can access services like education, counseling, and job placement from emergency shelters and transitional housing. Residents and individuals will work with the social worker until they become independent and self-sufficient, and they find long-term, permanent housing, as they will be referred to numerous rent and security deposit assistance. Statistics from the Homeless Shelters Directory show that 222 individuals, which 5% of them are homeless, since 2018 from the data collected last 2019 of the said organization. The total population has 33.3% unsheltered and 66.7% are already sheltered. A total of 23 homeless veterans, of which 100% are sheltered. Only 2 homeless youth, which 100% of them are unsheltered. There are a total of 1,032 beds available, of which the following categories of shelters show: 103 beds from emergency shelter, a housing to stay for an unexpected loss of housing. 78 beds from transitional housing, intended for displaced or chronic homeless individuals. 637 beds from permanent supportive housing, a long-term housing meant for elderly or vulnerable individuals. 214 beds from rapid rehousing, short-term rental assistance for individuals acquire housing fast. Chronic homelessness is rampant in Wayne County. They are seen in the street crossing for years. This refers to individuals who experience homelessness repetitively and suffers from mental illness or substance abuse. The Housing Department of Wayne County Courthouse allows access to safe, affordable, and permanent housing. They offer the following services: emergency services, homeless prevention, rapid rehousing, supportive services, transitional age youth apartments, transitional housing, share housing program intended to aid senior citizens over 60 years old to stay in their homes with the help of an individual age 18 and older that needs affordable housing, as they provide companionship and household services in exchange for the low rental. MDHHS, or Michigan Department of Health and Housing Services, grants local individuals and families who experience homelessness to gain permanent housing. With the help of other states and local partners, the division can assist with food and medicines, services for children, behavioral health services, employment, and training. They also organize and provides training and technical assistance to build and develop the quality of services to address the problem of the state for homeless individuals. Transitional housing, halfway houses, sober living, emergency shelters, and other kinds of housing programs always provide support for people with the most primary goal is to end the homelessness of the society, as they help the homeless to rebuild and regain their normal healthy life.